What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. Now, Crown Jewel is over and the WWE's 2021 draft is in full effect. But what surprises could fans expect on last night's Smackdown as the WWE now prepares for the Survivor Series? Join us now as we look at the 22nd October edition of the Blue Brand, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including a real fight backstage after Smackdown, Jim Ross confirms he has cancer, Mansoor shuts down Ryback, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now, as always, we won't recap the show, but just provide you with the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, a brawl to end it all. Now, last night's Pier 6 brawl involving Brock Lesnar, the Bloodline, and just about every official in the WWE wasn't anything new, but it was a wild way to write the beast off television until the WWE figures out its plans for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 38, i.e. will he face Lesnar or just someone else? The WWE gets no points for creativity in writing Lesnar off, but it scored major props with the angle's execution, including Adam Pearce taking 2 F5s. Also, will that lead to Sonya Deville taking over as the sole authority figure, or will Pearce be back soon? While we were rooting for Michael Cole to get F5'd as well, the segment did deliver. As we explained in our video explaining why Lesnar lost to Reigns, both men will meet again, but the WWE isn't in any hurry to do so, and with any luck, it has some solid programs planned between Survivor Series and Mania. For now, Brock can count his McMahon bucks from his SummerSlam payday. Number 2, all hail King Xavier. Xavier Woods' coronation was a great way to start the New Day's underutilized reign as a 2021 King of the Ring, with Woods enjoying his victory without seeming arrogant. How the WWE now uses Woods' status as a king is now the big question. Will he defend the unofficial title as past kings including Baron Corbin have done, or will they be a status symbol that helps him in advancing up the WWE ladder? Whatever the case, last night's ceremony was a great start. And number 3, Hit Row is here. Hit Row is finally on the main roster, and judging from their entrance, they should get over quickly with the WWE Universe. The faction has the moves and the charisma to become main roster stars, and it's just a question of utilizing them properly. A confrontation and eventual series against the Usos seems like a good idea, but there's no reason to rush it now, and the Hit Row should be protected on the road to a tag team title match. The last thing they need to do is job out the Usos at this point. But that was a good. What about the bad? It's number 1, the return of local talent. Last night's match between the Hit Row and local talent was an uninspired way to introduce the promising team from NXT. Now, there are times when you bring in enhancement talent, but this wasn't one of them. The WWE should have had Hit Row wrestle a team that the WWE is familiar with, even if there was little doubt who would come out on top. Granted, they have gutted its tag team division, but that's not the Hit Row's problem, nor it should be, and the last thing they need is a 6-month run squashing local talent. Remember how that worked out well for the Viking Raiders? Number 2, bye bye Brock. Brock Lesnar's suspension ruined what could have been an exciting time between now and WrestleMania, particularly due to Lesnar's status as a free agent. The WWE is missing out on a chance to keep fans in suspense, as they've never known when or where the Beast will show up. The suspension angle could be dropped, but knowing Brock's typical deals of appearing every 3 months, it's doubtful we'll see him anytime soon. Number 3, switching Sami's music. Does Vince McMahon think Sami Zayn needs something to help his popularity? Well, if so, Zayn's new music was a terrible way of doing so. Zayn has been performing well in the ring as always, and he has this unlikable heel act down perfectly. Changing his music just seems like one of those mercurial McMahon moves that reinforces the belief that Mac Daddy Vince doesn't know what the hell is going on. And number 4, phoning it in. I would like to give Smackdown a pass on last night's show because the crew did just wrestle in Saudi Arabia and had a long flight back. Still, there was no denying that this show was phoned in, with them doing little to establish any storyline with its current or recently arrived superstars. Drew McIntyre wrestling Sami Zayn, Hit Row squashing jobbers, and Happy Corbin beating Shinsuke Nakamura were nothing to get excited about. As good as the Lesnar vs Bloodline segment was, the WWE seriously miscalculated by starting the show with it. The matches and segments that flowed ranged from weak to average, and the Blue Brand could only go downhill after Lesnar left the building. Ideally, the WWE should have put Lesnar vs the Bloodline on last, or booked better matches and segments for the rest of the show. But that's not all. We do have a downright ugly, a terrible title exchange. Last night's title exchange between SmackDown Women's Champion Becky Lynch and Raw Women's Champion Charlotte Flair was an example of how to take a weak premise and expose it in what is supposed to be your show's top segment. While they needed to figure out how to switch the belts to their respective brands due to Flair being drafted to the blue brand and Lynch being to the red brand, Having the two women just handed over in a half-assed way was both cringy and unnatural. While the case can be made that the WWE was using the segment to build up heat for what may be Flair battling Lynch at Survivor Series, it failed as there was no drama and no action. Having Lynch clobber Flair with a belt or something similar might have worked, but not this. No, definitely not this. The best way to handle this one would have been to have just mentioned it off screen, but there seems to be more to this segment, as we now move on to the news. Our first story looks at a real fight backstage after Smackdown. Now, topping today's news, it appears that Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair's title exchange on last night's Smackdown was as heated as it looked. PW Insider's Mike Johnson is reporting that Flair allegedly got upset after Becky Lynch apparently deviated from the script during their title exchange. Johnson reports that Flair was concerned about her championship reign to look weak. During the championship exchange segment, there was a moment where Flair was to hand the belt to Becky, but instead pulled it away and threw the belt on the mat, which was not the way that the exchange was supposed to go. At that point, Sonya Deville demanded Flair retrieve the belt and hand it to her, which Flair did. Deville then asked for Becky's title, but instead Lynch threw her title belt at Flair, which was also not part of the plan. Was Becky playing a heel character as planned, or did she go into business for herself? Whatever the case, PW Insider reports Flair was hot about the situation. We're told at that point there was a confrontation between Lynch and Flair over Flair allegedly disrespecting Lynch by trying to make her look bad. As one source stated during the segment, and there were loud words between the two. We were told that the situation was heated, but did not get physical. Now apparently that's not the only brouhaha that happened, as naturally situations like these get fans talking, and that's what the WWE would like them to do as Survivor Series gets closer to the prospect of Lynch vs Flair's inter-brand match becoming likely. The story also has fans trying to figure out whether the story is a work or a shoot. TalkSport's Alex McCarthy added that the Queen may have got onto Mr. McMahon's bad side. Flair walked away and Vince McMahon wasn't happy Charlotte left Gorilla without talking to him. Flair is now heading to Orlando to support Andrade at AEW Dynamite. It's believed no one involved was happy about the title switch segment, and it was debated throughout the day. Now, our next story has some people believing that Lynch vs Flair's confrontation may have not been so subtly worked, but a shoot. Next up, add Andrade into the mix. Now, there are factors that some fans and critics believe are evidence that the backstage confrontation between Becky and Charlotte was no work. Charlotte's fiancé, former WWE superstar and current AEW star Andrade tweeted at "F you WWE." WrestleVotes apparently feels Andrade was reacting to a legitimate problem involving Charlotte, as the news source tweeted, "This is only the beginning of the story that unfolded tonight." Alex McCarthy seems to believe that there is some heat between the two women, adding, "The Flair and Lynch friendship has been strained for some time. People close to the situation say Flair didn't appreciate being called plastic during a promo a couple of years ago, and it's been tense since." Andrade has spoken about wanting to bring Charlotte to AEW, but would they let one of its top female stars exit for the competition? Recent exits of main eventers like Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt show that no one is seen as indispensable. In fact, if the recent rumors that the WWE was unhappy with Bray Wyatt are accurate, a disgruntled Charlotte could obtain a release. Based on these reports and Andrade's tweet, it seems that there are some legitimate issues going on backstage between Charlotte and Becky Lynch. While the WWE may be taking advantage of them for publicity purposes, the situation could get so tense that the WWE gives serious thought to releasing Flair. Next up, unfortunately, some real sad news, as Jim Ross has been diagnosed with skin cancer. Now, it's sad to report that AEW announcer Jim Ross has confirmed he has cancer. You'll likely recall an earlier story this week where Ross alerted fans to the possibility he has skin cancer. Now, the Hall of Famer is tweeting, "On my way to Orlando for tonight's AEW Dynamite. Skin cancer confirmed. Waiting on radiologist study to determine best treatment. Likely radiation. Feeling great and ready to attack. Thanks for the support from so many." I would like to send our thoughts and prayers to good old JR on a full and fast recovery. And finally, Mansoor shuts down Ryback. It looks like Mansoor has quickly learned how to deal with trolls on social media, at least judging from his recent electronic exchange with Ryback. Mansoor had a terrific match against Mustafa Ali at Crown Jewel, but apparently former superstar Ryback isn't a fan. Ryback recently tweeted, "Vince McMahon, you can give Mansoor Steve Austin's music and he still won't be over. Holy shit, your product sucks." But Mansoor quickly put Ryback in his place, posting a screenshot of Ryback's pitiful poll from a while back when the big guy asked the fans where they'd like to see him wrestle, only to have 72% of the votes say retire. Ouch. We were told that Ryback is currently receiving treatment for burns. But there you have it guys, the good, the bad and the downright ugly from this week's Smackdown, as well as the wildest news stories and rumours you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.